This is the electric chair. I'm going to have to put that in the F tier. I would probably rather sit on the Lego chair than be electrocuted to death and die. You know, I don't want, this doesn't need to become like an ethical discussion. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about the death penalty. I feel like I'm pretty anti-death penalty, but I haven't really sat down and reasoned with it for a while. But I am definitely anti putting people in a chair, putting a metal bowl on their heads, and then flipping a huge switch and shocking them to death with a lightning bolt. That's fucking brutal, man. Like, and they were doing that, like, what was the last execution via electric chair? It was probably like in my lifetime. That's fucking crazy. It was not yesterday. Come on. Tennessee still does them? Okay, never mind. There we go. May 10th, 2002. That's fucking crazy, man. People getting electrocuted. They're in the electric chair in 2002. I mean, I don't know, like, we're not going to do like an execution tier list. I feel like my ass would like rather hang. They're both brutal. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. Lethal, actually, I don't even think lethal injection is at the top. I think getting like my head chopped off is probably close to the top. But I wouldn't want it to be like a public execution. Like I wouldn't want it to be like people are like buying snacks and like getting there early to get good seats. And then like I'm getting a little nervous tummy that's like, oh, it's only like an hour till I get my head chopped. That would be like the real torture. And then I'm like, they're dragging me up the staircase, and I'm like, please don't, please don't. And people are throwing tomatoes at me. And I'm like, were it not but for a simple twist of fate, you yourself could have found yourself on the gallows today, good sir. And they're like, no, never. We're made of different moral fiber. It has nothing to do with our circumstances. We're stupid. We're stupid. And I'm like, you don't get it. And then like it would be a blessing when the guillotine severed my spinal cord there. But if they were just like, hey, come in at like 11 and we'll get this done, like quietly, I'd be like, okay. I could enjoy it until like the night before probably. I definitely do not want to get like electrocuted to death. Because that seems like just the world's worst roller coaster. It's like I already don't like roller coasters that much. But then to know that like when they flip the switch is like I'm going to get struck by lightning is pretty bad. And not even for like a second. They're going to keep that thing on for like 20 seconds or something like that. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, I definitely would not like to have all 4 of my limbs broken and then be shackled into a boat and have my body covered in honey and then pushed out to sea so that like wild birds ate my flesh over the course of several days. There's a lot of public execution methods from history that I would definitely not be super into. Anyway, cooked alive inside of a golden bowl. The one that's, and this is Dan Carlin pilled, but the one that's so crazy to me is like the breaking of the wheel, which you're like, oh, what is that? Is that when they put you on like the table and then they stretch you? No, that's the rack. Oh, is that maybe they put you in a big barrel and roll you down a hill? No, they literally just use a fucking huge wheel and break all your bones. And then they just sort of like thread your body through the wheel. And they just leave you there in the town square until your ass expires. What's the point of the wheel? Like, is it symbolic or so? It feels like if you just use like a hammer or something, that would be more efficient. What were they thinking? I'm sure the hangman was like, you know, if you just give me an axe, I could do like 12 times more clients today. Instead, the king is like, nope, it has to be the wheel. All right. I mean, you're the one signing the checks, brother. I'm just telling you. You don't tell me how to do my job. I guess I shouldn't tell you how to do yours. But anyway, sorry. Is the tier list going to go on YouTube? No, probably not. It probably shouldn't have gone on Twitch on the first place. But here we are. Life comes at you fast. Yeah, that's one for the librarian. The librarian can handle the content guidelines on that one. Slash marker. Ways to die in Minecraft. We got a tier list today that was theorized last week. I'd like to thank Yu Watanabe, also known as the Library of Laterno, for making this and also making it family friendly. I mean, it's family friendly in images, at least. It's not necessarily family friendly in terms of the actual content. But hey, we're adults here. We're just having a conversation. We're not saying like any of this is good. We're having a conversation about what would be the worst ways to be executed for a crime. Okay, now I'm just telling you out of some of these I'm not familiar with. Okay, like for example, I'm not familiar with what it means to have a Dementor's kiss. Blowing from a gun doesn't sound so bad. Buried alive by Mr. Beast. Airlock ejection. I also don't know what Poena Kool-Aid. Anyone that's in that I don't know, but it's in English and like not from Harry Potter, I know I'm in trouble. Like what is scaphism? That there appears to be a bird eats your flesh bit by bit. Something like that. Yes. All right. Well, let's get started, okay? Now listen, none of these are good. I would rather not die, and if I die, I would rather not be executed, obviously. But we're just simply ranking what would be the worst ones. I don't think it's a hot take to say that there are some ways to die that are better than others, or to be executed. That's why, like, we now have, like, more humane ways to do it. We don't just say like, oh, like your time has come. We're gonna bury you up to your neck in sand and then have like Mbappe kick your head off into the soccer goal, right? That's all. There's more humane ways that confer less pain onto the victim, and then there's less humane ways. Okay. Speaking of which, I mean the one of the obvious factors that I think is at play here is the length of your suffering. And crucifixion would be one of the worst. Well, it would be maybe not one of the worst, but it would be close to the bottom of ways that I would want to die. Just chilling there for as long as it took to expire via dehydration or I don't even know. It definitely seems like misery. So like this I'm just trying to set the tone here. This is the worst. And then like this is the best but still pretty bad. They're all pretty bad though. I would put myself here. Probably this is second from the bottom. Burning to death. This is a tough one. It's extremely painful, but it is at least over quickly. I would probably rather burn to death and die in 45 seconds or something like that. It's not quick. It's very quick compared to some of the things on the list. Certainly very quick compared to the Ark. Well, I guess it's slower than the Ark of the Covenant face melting, but it's quicker than like having your flesh torn limb from limb by little birds. I mean, that could take like a week. I still think at the very least, I'm not saying it's great, but this would be perhaps at least better than being crucified. Breaking wheel. Now, am I correct in the assumption that breaking the wheel is this is when you have all of your limbs broken by a wheel and then they kind of crucify you on the wheel itself and leave you there? More or less, that's correct. Okay. So this is basically like being crucified but also having your bones broken in advance, I'd have to say that that's probably like worse than just being crucified. Keep in mind, we're talking about, like, we're comparing 0 out of 10s to 0 out of 10s, okay? I'm not, because I don't want anybody, because I'm being defensive, because when I did the animal tier list, I've been forced to defend myself from bad faith attacks for like a month. I'm just trying to make every 5 seconds, I'm just letting you know, none of these are good. The electric chair. This was actually like what inspired this in the first place. Was that how we were talking about, we were doing the chair tier list. And I thought, like, dying in the electric chair, it's crazy that it happened, like, in the 20th century. Maybe even, like, once or twice in the 21st century. It's pretty disturbing. Like, A, you're getting shot by a bolt of lightning that has been harnessed by mankind itself. Like, there's something almost occult about that. Like, it's Frankenstein style. And then I think, like, the anticipation would be the worst part. Well, I mean, the electrocution would probably be the worst part, but the anticipation would also be, like, really, really bad. Because you'd just be, like, waiting for the bolt of lightning to hit you. But compared to the other ways on the list, it's at least not... It's not the worst. I mean, if I'm being honest, I would probably rather have that than be burned to death. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know if I'd put it in acceptable. I mean, some of these are downright acceptable. As far as I'm concerned, having your head chopped off by the executioner is like, it's pretty acceptable. They could have done a lot worse. Oh, cool. It's Psycho Day? Yeah, like a little bit. Drowning. I think, obviously, this would be not great. I think for me, one of the things that I look for in choosing a preferred execution style, one of the things that bothers me is knowing that you're gonna die like more than a few seconds before actually dying. Like, if there's a firing squad, you know you're gonna die, but like, it's just like, it's lights out, basically. This one, you would be like struggling and like have some hope or something like that. And then you'd be like, you'd have to give up. That doesn't sound nice to me. That being said, I mean, to be honest with you, it's tough for me to say that I would rather burn than drown. But I mean, maybe I would probably rather drown than burn, but are you taking chance of failure for this? No, absolutely no. There is no escape, okay? This is not a, like, would you rather question with your friends in 3rd grade. You know, there's no, like, oh, I would simply dodge the bullet from the firing squad, and then they'd be like, you're free to go. You know, this is like, you're not going to mind trap your way out of this. We're having an adult conversation here. It's serious business. Firing squad, just going to go ahead and say it, that I feel like it's acceptable. Yet again, I would rather not, especially if it's by someone from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I would rather not be killed or executed. But if I had to be executed, firing squad is definitely better than any of the ones that we have had so far. Worse for the guy shooting you, though? What do I care? Fuck that guy. He's killing my ass. He should... I hope he regrets it for the rest of his life. I hope he suffers incredible trauma. I hope it rips his life apart from the inside out, okay? If I could haunt his ass, I could. Similarly, I mean, I would have to say acceptable. I think you just kind of like, it's despair, but then maybe you just fall asleep. But it's not great. No, it's the worst. You boil from the inside out. All right, well, let's put it down here instead then. It's like drowning? All right, let's put it next to it then. The guillotine. The guillotine is an acceptable way to die. It's not as bad as... It's better... Wait, let me rephrase. It's worse than the firing squad because they have to drag you up on stage and you're probably like being shouted at the whole time by the crowd. The crowd's probably going like, ah, and you're like struggling and stuff, and then they get you in the stocks or whatever, and then you got to wait for like the roller coaster to start, but then it's pretty quick at least. I just don't like any word that sounds like it's from like Middle England. Like keelhauling? What is keelhauling? This is actually French? It's when you're dragged behind a boat. You're dragged under a boat. Oh, this is like if you were like a mutineer or something like that. I would say that's pretty bad. That's like... Is drowning plus like physical trauma from the barnacles and the other detritus under the ship? I would still say breaking the wheel has got to be like the worst, man. I mean, maybe getting eaten alive by birds is worse, but lethal injection, this is like the only way that we still do the death penalty in North America. Now, I'm not trying to maybe make an appeal to authority here, but like, we're more humane now. A lot of people are going to disagree with this. We're more humane now than we used to be. Like, nobody now is like, oh, that was a heinous crime. Like, put him in the breaking wheel. We're past that, at least for now. Now, depending on how things go societally, maybe it's more like we go up and then we go down, but I think that this has to be up there then. I mean, it's still, I would definitely rather have it than be electrocuted to death for sure. It is disturbing, I guess, but I don't know, like, I mean, this is not an apples-to-apples comparison, but that's kind of how I felt going into my testicular surgery. They were like, you're probably going to be fine, but there's like, you know, like a 1 in 100,000 chance that you just don't wake up from the anesthesia. And I was like, bye, Mom and Dad. They're going to slice, best case scenario, they slice up my scrotum a little bit. They said that to a 13-year-old? No, I was 16. That's what they said for my vasectomy? Bro, they don't even put you asleep for your vasectomy, right? Don't they just numb your area? Corey and I know, literally, we don't even need the anesthesia if we had it done. We could just sit on the bike seat for 90 minutes. Okay, what the heck is pina colelli? Colelli. What is poeta colelli? And getting lost in the rain? If you're not into yoga? Oh, wait, hang on. Just from the length of this description, I'm like, this can't be good. Sewn up in a leather sack with an assortment of live animals, including a dog, snake, monkey, and a chicken or rooster. All right, I mean, that's like, it's really bad. People were messed up back in the day. What is this from? Like the 1920s? I'd probably say that hell is a better alternative. I don't know how it compares to breaking the wheel. Then thrown in the water if you kill the animals. I mean, I guess you could beat the animals, but like, even then I mean, we're splitting hairs, but I guess I would rather just drown than drown in a sack. Like, that feels more merciless to me. I don't know. It's pretty bad. Which one is drawing and which one is quartering? Is it drawing is when you get cut in half and then the quarter is when they do like one more? They're always together, you know? It's like a crisscross. Drawing is when they I thought this tier list is making me uncomfortable, man. This is a terrible idea. It's pretty, my mood is like so down versus where I started the stream. Just reading about all these horrific ways that people died in like the Middle Ages just for like being like, I think ice is less dense than water. They were like, all right, tie them up to the horses. We'll do like a palate cleanser after this. All right. I mean, quartering is pretty bad. I think that chopped to death is just a good way to think about this. It's pretty bad. I mean, to be honest with you, I think I would probably put it somewhere down here, pretty close to the bottom. Definitely not something I'd be super interested in being involved with. Yeah, speaking of which, tied to like a post and then having my flesh torn strip by strip off my body until I died. That's got to be like, it might even be worse than having a professional break your limbs because it's just birds instead. They don't even know what they have no mercy. So that one's pretty low. Stoning. Stoning is like, it would be pretty bad. You're dying to like repeated blunt force trauma. I think, you know what would be the worst part of this for me? Like, I really want to, and not everybody gets this luxury, and maybe I won't either. You never know. But, like, I want to go out, like, at peace. I don't want, like, my last thoughts on Earth to be, like, it really do be your own. I can't imagine, like, living in a community with people for your entire life, and then, like, they get whipped into a frenzy, and then they kill you with rocks. Like, that would feel spiritually, physically, obviously, that would feel so bad, but spiritually, that would be the worst last thought in your brain, like, as you went down. You know, like, when you get gaslit in Among Us, or when the rest of the lobby gets gaslit, and they're like, oh, Ryan's definitely, I saw him schmoove, he was sus-walking in admin, and you're like, I wasn't! Like, it would be like that, but on permadeath. I think it would be a horrendous way to go spiritually. It's probably not as bad as having birds tear your flesh like limb from limb, but it's like pretty bad. Somewhere in there, I'd say. Project Winter traumatized this man. It's true, man. It's true. Hanging. How many more of these are there? At least most of the remainder are like fiction. Like, I don't know what being declassed is, or a Dementor's kiss, but at least no one's ever gotten the Dementor's kiss in real life. This shit is bumming me out, man. Hanging. It's definitely bad. I mean, I would think of it like maybe the same as drowning. Boiled alive. Really bad. Like worse than burning, for sure. It's pretty bad. I would probably say, like, it's got to be close to the bottom. Boiled alive, I mean, it's basically asking you, would you rather be boiled or sautéed? I honestly don't know. They're both pretty bad. I'm going to put them pretty close together. Room with a Gun and this song. The song is Super Mario Sunshine, Delfino Plaza, but it never begins. So that would just go dun 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 dun, but it would never go bring 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 bring. I mean, that's a joke. I'd probably put it up here. At the end of the day, it is a gun. Could be worse. It could be boiled alive in a room with that song playing. Plus, I think I could just chill in there for a while. Sawing. Pretty bad. But I would definitely rather be, I mean, it would be insanely painful. I would probably rather be sawed than boiled alive, though. It's crazy to think the magicians do this every day. Starvation. Starvation is kind of a tough one. It takes a long time. It's definitely torturous. It would take like 3 weeks, right? They always say like 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. I mean, it's bad, but I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to be like, oh, dying of starvation is mid. Like, that's a nasty out of context clip. I think at least, like, I do feel like I have to put it in mid. Like, I'm not saying this would be pleasant. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, at least, like, while you're starving, you could watch Netflix or something. Like, it's not as bad as being dragged under a barnacle-ridden boat or something like that. Like, again, we're splitting hairs between, like, awful fates. Strangling. Again, for me, this is in, like, the drowning tier. I would hate to, like, know that I was dying so long in advance of actually dying. Buried alive. I don't even know. This is like 10 different deaths in one. Like, it's dying of dehydration or like suffocation or starvation. Is Mr. Beast in there with you? It's so good. Mr. Beast is built different. By the way, caveat, I've not seen a single Mr. Beast video in my entire life, but I'm assuming he was buried alive for a YouTube video. My ass would never trust anyone to do that. I'm not even, like, there's an infinitesimal chance that, like, they would just leave me down there to die. But, like, something could go wrong. You know how YouTubers are. For 2 days? That's crazy. There's no, I just wouldn't give, I wouldn't needlessly put my life in anyone's hand like that, in anyone's hands like that. Yeah, they could accidentally, like, when they're digging me out, they could, like, put the shovel through my forehead or something like that. Like, it's just, I don't know. I wouldn't be happy. I don't trust anybody this much, even though there's such a small chance that they would, like, leave me to die. Anyway. I mean, this is pretty bad. But you know what? I honestly think it's kind of in the same tier here. It's not. These are things that are like, this is like, if I gotta go, sure. This is like, I guess it could be worse. This is like, I don't feel great about this, but I guess there's no way to win. And then these are like, please God, no. Poisoning? I mean, my understanding of poisoning is essentially that, by the way, thank you everybody for the gifted subscriptions. Thank you. You guys are sick if you're subscribing for this content, but you're sick. Poisoning? I'm just going to go ahead and say that's like mildly disturbing. I think you could have some poison that is like really bad. You could have some poison that's pretty quick, but by and large, I think maybe it's in like the same tier here. Turned into a vampire and exposed to sunlight. That's got to be like right next to burning. Maybe it's better because at least you're ridding the world of a suckhead, but still. Vaporized, I mean, this is the best. To have Dr. Manhattan just point at you and all of your atoms scatter instantaneously, I mean, this is the dream. This might be a little too much for some people. This is probably better than just about any way that you could actually die naturally, like of natural causes. This might actually be like in a tier above. I'm getting a lot of plus twos. Yeah, this is like in your sleep, basically. Airlock ejection. It depends if it like freezes you instantly or if it's like in Total Recall where like their eyes are popping out of their heads and stuff like that. Don't you like implode or something or explode? Your lungs. Okay, this seems pretty bad. Also, to know that it was my own that did it to me. I guess that would be pretty bad too. I don't know if it's as bad as stoning though. Maybe I'd put it like here. I want to see Chiblee do this list. Let's see if he can maintain a coherent mood throughout. Oh, ants. Definitely, I would say like pretty much as bad as the birds, honestly. Ark of the Covenant face melting. I gotta be honest with you here. I'd say it's probably just mildly disturbing. With this, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. Didn't seem fun, but you do die in like. I mean, your face melts, but you die in like 15 seconds. It's not as good as getting, you know, atomized by Dr. Manhattan, but you know you're dying though. Yeah, for like a second. I mean, within the relative context of this list, that doesn't seem that bad. They were screaming? Yeah, they're dying. Like it's all bad. It's not like one of the options is like getting sucked off to death. Like, and you're like, well, you really put it in the same tier as getting sucked off to death? Like, they're all bad. There's no Xenia Onatopp, you know, cowgirl pelvis crushing. You know, you just. What is blowing from a gun? Is this like being shot out of a cannon or shot with a cannon? Human cannonball? I would say that's not great. I don't know, man. It's kind of, how many times? This is like a real, they should give this test to like secret agents. If a secret agent can do this tier list and still, because you know, after like the 30th time you've asked yourself, would I rather be shot out of a cannon or die in an electric chair? Your brain is just like, what the hell are you doing? I don't know. I guess I'm not the kind of guy who considers like that this would be like, oh, a cool ride and then I would die. Like I would be terrified while I was flying as well. So I think this is probably like, if I'm being real with you, I probably would rather do it than drown, but it would still be pretty, I wouldn't be happy with it. Crushing. So this doesn't seem like a boulder fell on this guy. I'm so happy we're getting into the media ones, man. It's the first 30 were too much. The ones that are just from movies, I can handle that. Okay. Oh, I think we're through the worst of it. So this is like they just put increasing amounts of bells on you until your body gives up. That's really bad. Yeah, I would put this, I mean, I'm going to say like maybe in the boiled alive tier. I think I would probably rather be crushed than boiled. But it's really getting to the point that's like, I'm not going to be happy about it either way. Let's be honest. What is declassed? This is an SCP, right? What kind of SCP is it though? Any horrible SCP death? Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'd probably say that, like, you know, people's imaginations are pretty worse. Pretty much worse than anything that's ever existed in real life, I suppose. So, yeah, we'll put that in there. Could be literally just insert, this is like a wild card. The Mentor's Kiss. Now, as someone who was based in the year 2000, I have never read Harry Potter long enough to get to where Dementors were even a thing. I was still, it was Professor Quirrell was still a good guy the last time I was into Harry Potter. Um, your soul gets sucked out by a reaper. Someone sucks out your soul. I'm going to guess this is probably something, takes less than a minute. Probably feels pretty bad spiritually. I don't know. I'd say it's about as bad as being shot from a cannon, I suppose. Grafted onto Godrick? I don't know. Am I crazy to think that that doesn't seem that bad? It's Pog, but horrifying? Well, like, you're not... Listen. I'm just trying to figure out, are you dead? Or are you like an eternal kind of life as part of his body, as part of the collective? You're just chilling there for centuries? Honestly, like, that doesn't seem that bad to me. I know people are like, it's worse because you're like eternally doing the same thing over and over. I told you, I'm definitely on the side that imagines Sisyphus to be happy, because what else can you do? What's he gonna do? Live forever and be sad? I think I could find a way to, like, at least enjoy this. I'm not like, I don't know. I'd have to. Well, you're dead. Well, okay, then how are you dying? Are you dying due to the graft? It seems like this guy's got like 800 axes or something. He probably just chops you up in like 2 hits and then you're dead. That doesn't seem that bad. I maybe put it like up here with the Ark of the Covenant face melting. Ill-tempered sea bass without a laser beam on its head. Definitely. I mean, just as a substitute, being eaten alive by fish overall, I'd say it's pretty bad. I think it's not as bad as birds, in a weird way, because the birds are not ill-tempered. They're just following like metabolic processes. In a weird way, I would rather get killed by a mean animal than like an animal that's just dispassionately eating me for sustenance. Because at least these guys are like, they're mad and they're going to hopefully finish the job fast. The birds are like, oh, I'm full. I'll be back in 2 days. So I think this maybe is not as bad as the birds, at least. Loopered. So I'm going to assume that Loopered is in any way being killed by your... Sorry, spoilers. Loopered is being killed by your past or future self to be sent back in time to kill yourself. I would like to think that this has got to be close to the top, because I think past or future me would kill me mercifully. Like, they would have mercy in the manner that they did it. They would not be like, guess what? You're getting boiled alive. And if you lost, like, I think if you lost combat to somebody like in the gladiatorial arena and they killed you, you would be like, oh, not only did I die, I'm a scrub. But if I got beaten by me in combat and then killed, my last thought would be like, of course I beat me. Like, I'm awesome, you know? If you gotta go down to somebody, you'd rather it be yourself, probably. GG's me, we don't go again. Magnetic collar from Wild Wild West. So basically, if you try to breach the containment zone, a saw blade gets shot at you, and because you have an incredibly powerful magnet on your neck, it just keeps attracting it. I mean, to be honest with you, this is kind of like a guillotine, but like, I think this is better because I could choose my moment. I'm not like, oh, I showed up at 10 a.m., but then I'm like, it's 10:45 and my ass is still sitting in the stocks, right? I could be like, it's 10 a.m., it's my, chop chop. You could just chill for a little bit. It's worse because you're in Wild Wild West. There's some fun stuff in that movie. The spider. Midsummer cliff dive. Hang on, I gotta check on my messages here briefly. We got something coming up next. The sponsor is begging, for the love of God, please don't do this. This is so messed up. What are you doing? No, I'm joking. We're just trying to figure out how to make sure the Twitch integration is on and ready to go. I'm telling you though, don't do this tier list. Only do the ones that are like ways to die in a movie. That would be way better. Because then these are things that are like, you know, they didn't really happen, kind of. I don't know if anybody's ever had their face melted off by like the Ark of the Covenant. Don't do the real ones. I did this just because I thought it would be funny, and I was so wrong. So, I mean, some of these are humorous, I guess. Midsummer cliff dive. So this is like falling and then having your head crushed by a giant hammer. That's really bad. That's pretty bad. Let's say this is probably... I mean, I don't want to fall in the first place, and I also don't want to have my head crushed with a giant hammer. I'd put this about on par with the airlock ejection, honestly. I would rather be shot out of a cannon. You'd be old anyway? Yeah, but it wouldn't be like... still wouldn't be fun. Molten gold is really bad. I gotta move burning down, man. Because, like, this is all, like... realize, like, I thought burning wasn't that bad, but I'm like, molten gold is close to the worst. But, like, this might even be better, because, like, it would suck really bad, but at least it would be over faster. So I'll put this somewhere up here. Sarlacc pit. Now, this is where I was going to say it's not that bad because you get, like, eaten pretty quick or something like that. But then someone's going to be like, oh, actually, in the Thrawn Chronicles, the Sarlacc, like, when you get eaten, you don't get teleported, like, into the stomach. It's actually, like, there's a whole town inside of there, and you got to live your life inside of, like, a hydrochloric acid pool. You get digested for 1,000 years. Okay, Boba Fett was digested over eternity. Okay, slowly digested over eternity. All right, I'd probably say that's pretty bad. I'd probably rather have the birds get me. What the hell is Suicide Squatted? Because there's like... there's a lot of death in that movie. Some people get shot. Oh, the bomb detonated in the base of your neck? I would probably, I mean, that seems like, I would say mildly disturbing because you know it's coming, but then it's over. It might even be up here, honestly. It's the most merciful thing Viola Davis did in that movie. Instead, she could have said, like, we put some really, really hot canola oil at the base of your skull, and if you go back on your mission, then we're going to break it and you're going to boil alive. And then table laser. Probably rather not be sliced in half, bottom up by a laser. If I had to be sliced in half by a laser, would definitely rather do it top down. Gonna go ahead and say that this would be pretty bad. I would even put it like right there. All right, slash marker me. Get this off my screen. Goodbye, sanest streamer. I feel bad. Hey, thank you, Yu Watanabe, for the gifted subscriptions. You know what? Sometimes you gotta push the boundary to know where your line is. My stomach feels weird. I'm okay. And now think about how much messed up stuff we could talk about, and people will be like, is this your first time here? You weren't here for the execution tier list? Kama Sutra tier list? Listen, I'm actually not going to do that one. But, like, come on. How many positions are in the Kama Sutra? There's, like, hundreds, right? I mean, at some point, they're just... It's like when a video game has, like, 17 different modes, but everybody only plays, like, Team Slayer, right? You're like, come on. You didn't need, you got Team Slayer, you got Griff Ball, and you got Capture the Flag. What more do you need? Reverse Griff Ball? Okay, fine. Reverse Griff Ball. But come now, you what do you? Oh, it's Team Slayer, but you could, you know, it's cops and robbers. It's come on, like, listen, I'll give you like, maybe like 7, maybe, but like 40 plus, that's crazy. Some of those, they just seem like an injury risk, honestly. Oddball, sure. Aren't oddball and griftball like the same thing? That's what I'm saying. Like 40 plus, like, come on, man. I don't want it to be like, it's like a game of Twister or something like that, right? You mix it up in a different way, you know? One-handed. Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. You don't have to, you know, what's the flying lotus? the iron lotus, the move from Blades of Glory? Okay, well, let's get this off my screen. I don't want to look at it ever again. He is gaming. He's hacking the mainframe. Sorry, there's like, listen, it's 10:04 a.m. Who's outside with this subwoofer-rich bass? I'm not even messing with you. It's a guy, it's 10:03 in the morning. It's a guy with his windows all down in a aftermarket wrapped Tesla Model 3, and his hair is so slicked back that he looks like Scarface. It's 10 in the morning, brother. He dead ass just pulled out a McDonald's hamburger. He's eating it in his driver's seat with the music cranked. Holy cow. I gotta close the window. That's what I needed after that tier list. Keep us posted? No, I feel weird about it now. Honestly, I think we should all just get along after doing that list. Yes, as I walk through the valley where I harvest my grain, I take a look at my wife. In real life, she's very plain. That's just perfect for an Amish like me. You know, we shun fancy things like electricity. I don't remember I don't remember the whole thing. I ain't ever punched a tourist even if he deserved it. An Amish with a toot, you know, that's unheard of. But I keep something and something so long that even Ezekiel thinks that my mind is gone. I'm a man with a plan. I'm into discipline. Got the Bible in my hand and a beard. Apparently I do remember the whole thing.